on, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome to a brand new and updated deck profile for my Drytron list. And this is actually sort of like my post one deck 1 month Drytron, finalized deck list. And I've been wanting to share this with you guys for a couple weeks now, but I just haven't gotten around to doing it, so I apologize for that. But this is basically the final result of one deck 1 month. I think this is the best list that I've been able to put together over the course of that month, and again, really excited to share it with you guys. I'll be trying to do this from now on after every one deck 1 month, as well as getting a guide video out. That was the original plan. I know I've been slacking on some of the guides, but they do take a long time to put together, so you guys should be able to expect a guide video for all the other decks I've covered in the past on the series, like Earth Machine, Drytron, Infernoble, all that. So just stay on the lookout for that. But before we hop into the deck profile, I do want to mention a quick shout out to Imperium Duelist. If you guys are interested in this beautiful playmat that I'm using here, I believe they actually still have a couple left, as well as these extra deck sleeves. Everybody always asks about them. They are restocking these, I believe, for one final wave very soon. If you head over to their site now, link in the description, I believe you can sign up for their email list, and you get notified in advance when the sleeves are going to restock. So if you want some, make sure you go do that sooner than later so you don't miss out. And of course, if you guys do end up buying anything on their site, please do not forget to use my discount code WINNERKILLS10 off at checkout to help you guys save 10% off your entire order and support the channel in the process. And if you guys are shopping on TCG Player, please do not forget to use my affiliate link down in the description below. If you guys shop and check out using that link, a small bit of the revenue from your purchase goes right back into the channel, and it helps out a ton. So if you guys are going to be picking up anything from the new tins, I'm sure most of us have seen all the reveals at this point, crossout designator. So if you're doing any mega tin shopping, please do not forget to use my affiliate link, again, down in the description below. So with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and get into the quick deck profile, and then we'll go to the in-depth card by card. So now we're going to go through the deck profile one more time, but a lot slower and in a lot more detail. So the first Drytron we are playing is 3 Alpha Thuban. I'm sure this is of no surprise to anybody. Basically, we can tribute a Drytron or a Ritual Monster to summon this card from our hand or graveyard in defense position. Then we can add 1 Ritual Monster from our deck to our hand. So Alpha is basically known as being like one of the better Drytrons. Specifically because it can get us access to Ben 10, which opens up a lot of other combos and different ways to extend, and also ways to protect your combo too, because if you tribute Ben 10, you can of course go ahead and search Orange Light, which is great for playing through and protecting from hand traps, or you can grab Diviner, which is also sort of like a pivotal piece in your standard combo. And as long as Ritual Monsters exist in this game, you definitely want to play 3 Alpha Thuban. There's really no reason not to. Alpha Zeta is like single-handedly the best opening in the deck, so you want to max out on those copies. And speaking of Zeta, we are also playing 3. I know I've got the ugly rares, but soon I'll be upgrading to those secrets that just got announced in the tin. Zeta, same summoning condition, obviously, for those that are unaware, as Alpha. Tribute another Drytron or Ritual to summon it from hand or grave, and if we do that, we can add a Ritual spell from our deck to our hand, which is going to allow us to search what I think has to be one of the craziest Ritual spells released in a long time, and that is Meteonis Drytron, which is a card we can basically abuse in this deck and use it over and over again, adding it back with Ida 10, or just simply adding itself back from the grave by dropping a Drytron we control by 1,000. So this card gets us access to Meteonis. So by that standard, we definitely need to play 3. And again, as I mentioned earlier, Alpha Zeta is your best and strongest opening, which I think I've showed off in a test hand video I've done in the past, or in one deck 1 month. So if you guys want to check that out to see how the deck operates, I'll leave a link to it up in the top right. Then I play just 2 Gamma. This is a change that I made towards the end of one deck 1 month. I think I was playing 3 for a large majority of that time, but I decided to drop down to 2 because opening multiple Gamma is really, really bad. If you open multiple Zeta or multiple Alpha, it's not like terrible because you're at least getting something out of it. You're getting either a ritual spell or a ritual monster, but if you open multiple gammas together and you're forced to tribute a gamma off of a gamma, gamma actually can't revive himself from the grave, interestingly enough. So if you can't basically use this card as a one-card Mubeta, it really is a one of the worst Drytrons then on paper, technically. But obviously, it's insane still. I think 2 is fine. I think I was bricking on 3 in the past, and I think 2 is much better just because, again, you have so many ways to get to Drytrons in this deck, whether you're getting them off of your Nova, or you're getting them off of Emergency, or you're either sending them off Mubeta Fafnir or Beatrice. So that's one of the reasons why I don't think you need to play 3. I'd rather much hard open cards like Zeta and Alpha, because if I get to any 2 Drytrons, whether it be these 2, or any other combination, I can get to whatever Drytron I need because of cards like Mubeta. So again, that's why I think 2 is all that you need. And speaking of 2, again, I'm playing 2 copies of Delta. I really like this card a lot. I think it's one of my favorite Drytrons, mainly because I just like drawing cards. And this card lets you do that, tribute a Drytron or a ritual monster, and then summon it from hand to grave, and then you can reveal a ritual spell or monster in your hand, and if you do, draw a card. So I really love resolving this card, and this is one of the reasons why I actually stopped playing Prosperity in this deck. And I mean, that's not the only reason, but like this would conflict with Prosperity, and losing out on that draw power was it really did hurt sometimes, especially if you were trying to draw into side deck cards or just more engine when you needed it. Or just drawing into more fairies to make your orange light or your ultimateness that much better at the end of a combo. But I'll talk more about Prosperity a little bit later on. But yeah, 2 Delta, and in total, those are all the actual physical Drytron names. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. 10 names. I was playing 11, but I think 10 is fine. I know some builds have played Beta. I don't personally like playing Beta right now. I could see the argument that playing a Beta is like just an extra name. But I've never found myself in a position where I want to be resolving a 5th name. I find that if you resolve every one of these names, an Alpha, Zeta, Gamma, and a Delta in a turn, you've probably done your full combo, and you have a almost near unbreakable board. So I don't think Beta is needed. So yeah, those are my ratios, and that's why I'm playing them. Like I said, I think the only thing in here that's maybe not standard is the 2 Gamma, but I've been loving 2 Gamma, and I think 2 is all that you need. Really at the end of the day. Then we'll go into our rituals here. We have 1 Cyber Angel Natasha. This card is interesting because I've seen a lot of people like not play it, and then I've seen a lot of people also play it. So it seems like people are kind of split on this card, which I don't fully understand. I don't know if people like forgot to read this card. It's absolutely insane. This is one of those cards that lets you like just like close games out of nowhere, essentially. With my build, I'm only playing 1 Eva, so it gives your Beatrice a lot more freedom on your opponent's turn to send whatever card you need to, like, try to close out the game on the following turn. And it also makes it so you don't have to rely on the Beatrice going through to get you an Eva to make your ultimateness much more worthwhile. But this card is insane. For those that don't know what it does, it says once per turn, you can target 1 face-up monster you control, gain life points equal to half its attack. And then when a ritual monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can negate the attack. And that's not a once per turn, so they keep attacking this with like 5 different monsters. You can just negate the attack over and over again. So they have to get rid of this card using some form of removal. And then it says, if this card is in the graveyard, you can banish 1 other Cyber Angel from your grave. Then target a monster your opponent controls, special summon this card. And if you do, take control of that monster. So if you have like, after turn 1, you probably have Ben 10 and Ida 10 in your grave somewhere, which means you have 2 uses of this. So you can just banish Ida 10 or your Ben 10 to summon this out and basically snatch steal something. It's pretty crazy. And then you can just keep gaining life points because you'll take their monster, link off with it into like maybe a Phoenix or a Unicorn, spin a card, bring this back, take another monster, make an access code, and just completely obliterate their board and go for a game. Then we have the Ida 10 and the Ben 10. I think these 2 sort of go hand in hand together. Ida 10 is great because it's a level 6. Obviously, that helps us to make Beatrice with Diviner. And the fact that when it's Ritual Summon, we can add back a Ritual Spell from Grave is really nice. Because Medi Onus has a effect to add itself back from the grave. But we do have to drop one of our Drytrons by 1,000. And that can sort of conflict with some of our combos later on when we need them to be at 2,000 attack. to get sort of full value out of the monsters we're trying to summon. So the fact that this can essentially just give it back to us for free to keep extending with is great, and the fact that it's level 6 is also awesome. And then Cyber Angel Ben 10, a card that really needs no introduction. If it is tributed, we can add a light fairy from our deck to our hand, which is one of the reasons why this card, or this deck is so good in general. It's just because you can tribute this card multiple times in a turn, and usually you get yourself set up with an orange light and an Eva in hand before you're ending your turn. And then on your opponent's turn, you ideally have like 1, 2, 3, or maybe even 4 fairies. You negate something by pitching an Eva. Eva effect activates. Go ahead and get 2 more fairies. So this card enables a ton. Hand trap protection, negation on the opponent's turn, and just protection from hand traps. And also extension by getting Diviner. So really amazing card. Definitely have to play it. And again, I don't think it needs too much explaining. And then next up we have one Herald of Ultimatus. I was playing the pre-prep build for a little while with Herald of Perfection. I was not a fan of that build. Like, on paper it sounds really good to be able to start your turn off with a Omni Negate on the board as your first summon. And then you also get your Ben 10 search, and you get Ben 10 back to your hand. So like on paper that sounds really good, but you have to open pre-preparation of rights plus Ben 10 or preparation of rights with it. And that's easier said than done. Like, you're not always going to draw that, and then playing the pre-prep engine just led to a lot of inconsistencies that I didn't like. And Herald of Ultimatus is just, I think, overall a lot better, just simply because it can negate special summons, whereas Perfection cannot. Not that like that has always come up. I don't think I've ever rarely used the negation of a special summon of this card, but when it does come up, it actually usually does matter quite a bit. So yeah, I think 1 Ultimatus is fine. I've seen some people play like 2 Perfection, which I don't think is correct either. I think, again, just the 1 Ultimatus is really all you need. Then next up, we play 1 copy of the Drytron Meteona's Draconids. This is a really, really good boss monster for the deck, and I think one thing that might happen to this deck in the future is that Eva will probably either go to 1 or be banned, which I don't think really does too much to this deck, other than it kind of makes it just like a little more fair, I guess. But this is one of those cards that's like a shining beacon for this deck, because if that card does go, like, ending on Ultimateness with like literally 6 negates is like no longer going to be possible due to Eva being gone. But there are so many great boards you can set up with this card, and it's one of the reasons why I ended up putting it back into the deck, because I was playing Chaos Max before. For those that watch the One Deck One Month, I did like that card quite a bit. It is an alternative to this card if you want to play something different. It does double piercing damage, can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects, period. And that was kind of what sold me on it for a little bit, is because it was just a little bit harder to get over than Draconids, because Draconids is only says that it can't be targeted by your opponent's monster effects, so they can get rid of it by other means. But a lot of people forget that Mubeta Fafnir has a third effect that says if you control a machine ritual monster, quick effect, when your opponent activates a spell or trap card, you can basically detach and negate and destroy that card. And this is the only machine ritual that we play in the deck, so that's the only way you're going to be able to take advantage of that effect. So if you have it set up properly, you're going to have this on the field with the Mubeta and the material. You have the double send here from Draconids, which a lot of decks are going to have a hard time getting over. And then you have the spell trap, negate, maybe an orange light or 2 in hand, and then maybe a mirage light up in the extra monster zone. So like, it's a really, really good field, and the reason I like it is it doesn't kind of like put all of your eggs in one basket where you kind of do that with the Ultimatus board, because this, like, Ultimatus, when it hits the field, it has a really big target on its back, and they're going to try to droplet it. They're going to try to do everything in their power to get rid of this card. But if your interruptions are kind of spread out over a couple different monsters when you make the Mubeta and Draconids play, it's just like a lot more effective, I find. And sometimes like the Ultimatus end board is literally just overkill. And not to mention, this card can attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls, so like sometimes you can just OTK with this card just as easy as you would be able to do with cards like Chaos Max. So really glad that card's back in the deck, and I don't think I would cut it going forward. Then we have 3 Diviner of the Herald. This is an insane normal summon for the deck. I still can't believe we actually ended up getting this card. If it's normal or special summon, we can send a fairy monster from our deck to the grave, deck or extra deck to the grave. And if we do, we increase this card's level by that monster's level until the end of the turn. So we're usually sending Herald of the Arclight off this, so it'll go up to a 6. There are a few instances where I will send Natasha from the main deck to make this a 7, and I'll explain why a little bit later when we get to the extra deck. But this is basically an extender or a starter. Send Herald, add I to 10, And then this becomes a level 6. So if you resolve like Zeta, you have a way to like get I to 10 on field with this, and then make a Beatrice to dump another Drytron name to the grave. So yeah, really solid card. Definitely a 3 of, and searchable off of Ben 10 too. So you gotta love to see it. 3 Herald of the Orange Light. Again, searchable off of Ben 10 because it is a light fairy. When your opponent activates in a monster effect, quick effect, you can send this card and one other fairy type monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation if you destroy it. Not once per turn, by the way. And this is also one of the reasons why, like, even if they do out the ultimateness board, a lot of times you have 1 to 2 of these plus like an Eva in hand, so you still have kind of like 3 monster negates or like an Appaloosa in your hand, or even better than an Appaloosa because this actually negates and destroys the card. So yeah, you gotta play 3. I've seen some people play 2, but like, why would you not want to see what is essentially a call by the grave in your opening hand as often as possible to ensure that your plays go through, or that when your opponent does have a hand trap, you have the stop for it. So I think 3 is 100% correct. Then we play 1 Eva. I think you could play 2. I did play 2 for a little while. I think 2 is overkill. And I think playing the second one kind of like makes it so that you like aren't playing around the cards that you should be playing around, like droplets and imperm. Because if you're playing 2 and like you're relying on, let's say you have Beatrice on field, and you're gonna try to use the Beatrice to send an Eva to get more fairies to your hand, that's just going to be basically like droplet food essentially at the end of the day, which is a card that you should be trying to play around. And if you don't need to use the Beatrice in your opponent's draw phase, and you were smart and added this 1 copy to your hand beforehand, then you're already set. You don't need to worry about having to send it off of like another copy essentially off of the Beatrice. So I think 1 is just fine. You don't need 2. And also playing a second copy can be kind of bricky. Yes, you can technically normal summon it with a Drytron to go into Mu Beta, but I just find that like, yeah, you can technically, but like it's just still not optimal at the end of the day because you can't end up detaching the Eva. Yes, you can send off the entire Mu Beta and get a search off of this, but like I'd rather just play 1. I think 1's fine. Again, you can play 2, but I think like ideally and most optimally you just need 1 to resolve. You add it during your turn, and then when you go to negate with something, negate something on their turn, you just use it to banish 2. And then your Beatrice can basically be free to actually send a different card to help close the game out, like a Natasha or a Draconids, whatever it may be, or another Drytron name. Now we'll go into the spells, and to start off we have 3 copies of Triple Tactics Talents. This card I think is like one of the best like stimmy staples to run in this deck. I did play Prosperity for a time being, and it was great for consistency, I cannot lie, but what I did not like about it was the massive loss of extra deck utility you would lose when you would play it. That was the thing that I did not like the most about it, and it would also conflict with cards like Delta. So I think Talents is just way better. This deck is really good at absorbing hand traps. So like if you can get hand trapped 1 time, no matter on like what it is, you can just, even if you negate the hand trap with Orange Light, you can still Talents, take a look at their hand, and then build your board accordingly based on what you see in their hand. Sometimes you can use it as a draw too, to like draw into more combo pieces if you desperately need them, right? This is very versatile card, so like just insane. And it luckily just got reprinted in the tins as well. So next up we have 3 copies of Drytron Nova. Basically, E-Telly for your Drytrons basically bumps up that count from 10 to 13, so definitely need to play this card at 3. Same thing can be said with the Cyber Emergency, bumping the Drytron name count up to 16 from 13. Literally lets you add any Drytron, so why wouldn't you play it at 3? Then we play 2 copies of Preparation of Rites. This lets you search your Ben 10, your Ida 10, your Natasha, you name it. The reason why I'm not playing 3 is because actually, playing 3 this actually kind of bricks. Maybe if I was playing Perfection, I would play more because you can search Perfection off this, but like, I have 3 targets in the deck right here. And I don't want to like have an entire hand filled with ritual monsters, so I think like playing technically 5 of them is good enough. So yeah, that's why I just play 2 prep, because I don't think, like, I think 3 is a little too overkill and will probably cause brick hands. Then I play 2 Drytron Medionis, or Medionis Drytron. I love 2. For a little while when I started playing this deck, I was on the 1 train, and then I saw my friend Adam was playing 2, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to try 2, see how I like it, and ever since I made the switch, I've loved 2 Medionis. If somebody thinks they're, really good at the game, they DD Crow one of these, and you have a second one in the main deck, like, you're just chilling, you don't even care. If they bell one and you have another one in hand because you either hard drew it or search it, you literally just keep going. Like, this card lets you extend so crazy having a second copy in the main deck, because, like, again, you can, like, search one off of your Herald, and then you can get another one off Zeta and just, like, keep going and going and going. And I find that's important too, because sometimes, yes, you can, like, add it back from the grave off its own effect, but sometimes, like, you don't want to drop one of your monsters attack because you want to tribute it off to bring out something that has that 2,000 or more attack stat on, or 2,000 or less. And sometimes you can't afford to tribute off something that's 1,000, because then you'd have to bring back, like, just something like Natasha. So having 2 just lets you extend and lets you play through hand traps. Then 1 Fafnir, basically your 3rd Medionis if you need it. Lets you get to it super consistently, or adds you the Drytron Nova. So essentially a 4th copy, and with it, like, a 17th copy of your Drytron names, and then 1 Foolish Burial, because this is, like, our 18th name, because this can dump any Drytron. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus the original 10 that we were playing. So we're playing 18 Drytron names in the main deck, and the chance of drawing, like, 2 more of 18 is, like, really, really high. And yeah, I don't think you really need anything else on top of that. And then the only traps I'm playing is 3 Imperm. This is, like, the only hand trap I'm playing in the main deck. Technically, like, you don't really need more than that, because you're already playing Orange Light, which is an insane hand trap as is. It's kind of like a better Gamma, if you will, I want to say, because it's searchable, and you don't have to play a Garnet in the main deck. The reason why I'm playing Imperm is because this deck's biggest issue is Appaloosa, and this outs Appaloosa 100%. You just, start your turn, Appaloosa, or, like, you activate a Drytron in hand, they go Appaloosa, and you just chain the Imperm. And that was one of my biggest challenges playing this deck, especially against decks like Tri-Brigade that would throw up Appaloosa very, very quickly and easily. Having Imperm in the main deck was a card I just wish I had a lot of the times when I was just drawing cards like Ash, which were just not nearly as impactful. So that's it for the main deck. Now we'll take a look at the extra deck. We have 2 copies of Drytron Mu Beta Fafnir, the Ixies monster that has way too many effects, 3 effects in total. It says, when you ritual summon, you can detach a material or materials from this card as materials required for the ritual summon. And then it says you can only use each of the following effects of Drytron Mu Beta Fafnir once per turn. If this card is Ixie Summon, you can send a Drytron card from your deck to the graveyard. So literally accesses your entire engine, so definitely a good reason to play more than 1. And then, when your opponent activates a spell/trap card, while you control a machine monster, quick effect, you can detach 1 material from this card, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So yeah, this card just lets you extend like crazy, because instead of having to, like, tribute your Drytrons off of your field, you can just tribute them as material to keep getting more ritual monsters on field to eventually tribute off for with your Drytron names. And then again, like, the 3rd effect, which is a lot of people tend to forget about, is something I've been trying to take more advantage of with this deck, because I definitely think it's just a really good thing to try to end on if you can. And then you can just overlay a Downer Magician on top of this, and then into a Zeus with at least 2 materials. So definitely 2 Mu Beta Fafnir, card's insane. Downer Magician, not much to say other than this is just to help make Zeus. There is no other reason we really play this card. If your Mu Beta has no materials and you attack with it, you can put this on top and then put a Zeus on top of this. And there you go, you have at least 1 board wipe for the opponent's turn. 1 Beatrice. This card is really, really strong in this deck because we can make it with 2 level 6s, and we can use it during our turn to send literally any other Drytron name we need. If we don't have a way to, like, if we only open 2 Drytron names, we can use Mu Beta to get another, and then we can use Beatrice to get the last one. Or if we already have saw all our Drytron names at the point, we can just, like, send an Eva, or we can just send literally anything, like Natasha, Draconids, whatever you need, or you could even send another Medionis, right? Or an Ultimatus, so you can, you don't have to, like, use a Beatrice search to get it to your hand, or not a Beatrice, a Ben 10 search to get it to your hand, and you can just ritual summon it out of the grave with Medionis. So 1 Beatrice, and again, you can make Zeus with it. And speaking of Zeus, 1 copy of Zeus, because it's all you really have room for, and you really never need a second. If they play through this then you're probably in a pretty bad spot, which means your entire board got broken or you got hand trapped a lot. So I just think one is all that you need. Don't think you've ever needed a second one. Then for the synchros, we play 2 copies of Herald of the Arclight. This card you're going to be primarily sending off of your Diviner. But one thing you can actually do as well with Diviner is you can actually, like, let's say your Diviner gets hit with an imperm in the one turn and it, like, survives the turn. You can, like, normal an Orange Light and then synchro into this. So you can actually, like, hard make this card sometimes when you're in really sticky situations and you need some sort of, like, Omni Negate. And then when it hits the grave, of course, you can add a Ritual Monster or Spell. So, like, it's kind of like a 2-in-1 card. I know some builds have played 1, and some people say you only need 1, but in my experience is, like, having the second one in the extra deck gives you such incredible follow-up to go ahead and search, like, some of the best cards in your deck. Then I play 1 Chaos Ruler, the Chaotic Magical Dragon. So the reason why I play this card is because there have been several hands where, like, maybe you can only resolve 1 Drytron, right? And then you have access to Diviner, right? Whatever it may be. You can actually use in those situations where you only have 1 name, and really all you need to see in this deck is 2 different Drytron names. Hashtag 2-card combo deck, by the way. So if you see just 1 name, you're going to have a really bad turn. But if you can resolve at least 1, and you have access to Diviner in some way, shape, or form, whether it be like tributing off a Ben 10 or whatever, what you can do is normal summon this and send Natasha from your deck to the grave. And this will become a level 7, and then you can synchro with one of your Drytrons and the Diviner to go into Chaos Ruler, which will mill the top 5 cards of your deck, and then you get to take any light or dark monster you find there, and the rest go to the grave. So, like, there's a lot of things this card can do. It can get you multiple Drytron names in the grave at once. It can get you rituals in the grave to bring back with Meteonis. Or, best case scenario, if you mill an Eva, obviously you don't add it to your hand, and then you use the Eva effect to go ahead and search an Orange Light and a Diviner to protect the further plays you are going to make. This card, I find, helps play through Droll like crazy. Obviously, Droll is one of the biggest offenders at stopping this deck. And I've had hands in tournament settings where I've gotten drolled, and because Chaos Ruler, I was still able to get to Mu Beta, and then by extension a Beatrice as well, because I was able to find a Gamma, and I was still able to play with the remaining cards that I had to get access to a Beatrice, and was able to basically resolve a Eva on my opponent's turn, and basically give myself something instead of nothing. So this card, I think, is really great, not only for helping you play when you lack Drytron names, but also to help play through hand traps. Then next up, we have 1 copy of Elder Entity Entis. This card is kind of like a mandatory 1-of in the extra deck. Sometimes you're not always going to want or be able to send Herald of the Arclight off of your Diviner, so sending Entis for removal is like the next best thing. Then the Lynx 1 IP Masquerena. Pretty common to end on this card. Really depends on the matchup. Sometimes I'm going to be ending on Mirage Light instead. But if this is favored, I'll probably just end on, like, if I'm playing against Tri-Brigade and I just want to spin back their normal summon, I'm probably going to end on the IP. Sometimes you can even end on both, right? That's also a possibility, but, like, this card lets you take advantage of, like, maybe dead Mu Betas or Beatrices and just turn them into unicorns, which is why I really like it. Then Mirage Light, I know a lot of people don't play this card because they're probably playing the Dragoon package, which I totally understand. I'm not playing the Dragoon package because I despise that engine. I hate the idea of having to play 3 bricks in the main deck, and if I really wanted to be like super ultra competitive, I would probably play it, but with the ban list coming around the corner, I don't think it's something I would play in here right now, and I just generally don't think it's needed. It's not like a must-of in the deck. Yes, one of the arguments is if you get hand trapped a ton, you can just go into an Anaconda, but that just sounds very boring to me, and not something like I really want to be playing in the deck, and I'd rather just play this card instead, because this card does a ton for the deck. It says 2 monsters of the same type and attribute except tokens, and then when a spell/trap card or effect is activated, quick effect, you can send a fairy monster from your hand to the graveyard, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy it. And then if this card in your possession is sent to the graveyard by an opponent's card, you can add up to 2 ritual and or ritual spells with different names from your graveyard back to your hand. So this card is like absolutely absurd for like getting resources back, and sometimes like if your opponent isn't paying attention, they just don't bother to read this card. They're like, oh, it's a spell trap negate. Okay, I'll just clear it in the battle phase. It's one less thing I have to worry about. And then you're like, effect, add back Ben 10 Meteonis. Not only did you get a huge like follow-up play for next turn, but you just gave yourself another negate on your Ultimatus, which is insane. And then I play 1 Nightmare Phoenix. Oh, And another thing too, like if you're ending on top of like ending with this and Ultimatus, it's like one more thing they have to droplet, or they're gonna have to like play through an interruption still. Then the other links, just the Nightmare Phoenix and the Unicorn, generic, really good links. You gotta play them. The Phoenix helps you play around. There can be only one. And then one access code talker. Why does he talk so much, and why is he so expensive? Why no reprint, Konami? But 2+ effect monsters, like for just 2+ monsters, like you get a lot of value out of this card. It is pretty crazy. You can't always go for game with it, but sometimes clearing the opponent's field completely puts them in a bad position where they really need a lot of resources to come back. So yeah, definitely got to play the access code. You could play Borosword though. You definitely don't need this card if like you're trying to play like a budget alternative. So yeah, definitely just the one of access code, or again, you could play something like Borosword if that is not in your budget. And yeah, that is going to wrap it up for this Drytron deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed, and let me know what you think about it in the comment section below. I had a lot of fun playing this deck. It is like so much fun to play a combo deck like this, especially since it takes advantage of the ritual mechanic, which happens to be like one of my favorites in the game. If you guys have any questions about the deck list, feel free to drop them down in the comment section below, or hit me up in Discord, link below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to see more of my content, click on one of the videos popping up on the bottom of the screen right now. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, I want to give a special thanks to all of our Divine level channel members who go above and beyond to support me in this channel. They are Cadillacs84, Pony Star, Keith Sidgers, and Daryl Best. Thank you guys so much, as always.